Hello there, and you're welcome to another episode of the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football Premier League podcast. You join me, the host, along with Eamon and Hector. We're taking a look to see what managers need to consider when they're putting a team together for the Fantasy Football League 2021-2022. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back again, so it is.
It's very nice to be back here. Hector, did you get away at all now? I did, yes, I did. I was down in Sligo. I was in a place called Ballycastle. There was a big rock out in the ocean, sea. I went to have.
Oh, yes. I know that. Down Patrick Head, that's probably what you're talking about. And you said you were in Inniscrone as well, in Sligo. You must have had good weather.
Yes, it was very good weather, I have to say. Very impressed. Very nice. Nice beach, nice water. Very good. Yes. Top marks. I give shout out to Inniscrone and to Ballycastle.
Seriously, we're starting this already. The show has just started and he's giving a shout out.
Well, now, Eamon, he enjoyed himself. What else can we say and do?
Can we get on with the show?
Fair enough. Okay. Well, first things first, listeners, you're very welcome to joining us here. And don't forget that the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football League is opened. As I said in our last show, we actually have 7 teams in place. And I've been informed another manager is putting a team together and is hoping to join us. And that usually will mean at the moment we'll have 4 brand new managers. Like, that's double what we had last season. I think this is really good. And it's going to make it really, really exciting. And listeners, if you're interested in putting a team together and you'd like to join the league, and maybe Eamon, myself, and Hector can comment on how well you're doing, how your team is performing, please feel free to drop us an email at arkamavengersffpl@gmail.com. The email address will be in the show notes as well. Now, what are we talking about this week?
I'd like to talk about Gameweek Transfers if possible.
Okay.
I think that each week, of course, a manager is going to have one free Gameweek transfer, which means he can take a player out and put another player in. It won't cost him anything. But there are a couple of things we need to consider if you're going down the route of making that transfer. And I think one of the first things a manager needs to consider is, do they need to use the Gameweek transfer or not? And I think many managers will think long and hard when they're looking at their team before game week starts and are considering, will I take a player out? Do I need to bring a player in? Probably is, I suppose, you need to think about what damage a transfer can do to your team.
Oh, what do you mean about this now, Eamon? Damage. Okay there, Hector? Yes. I just, my pad fell off the table. Okay. Anyway, Eamon, so you were on about the damage. What do you mean about damage?
Well, I suppose if you're using a game week to bring in a guy or bring out a guy, chances are there's a possibility the guy you're bringing in might not be that good, and it might upset the momentum of your team because a player might have an off week for a week or two, but that doesn't mean he's finished for a full season. And that's what you have to look at, the big picture, the full season.
All right, okay. Now, you said a manager should wonder about whether they would use the game week transfer or not. What would be the particular reason that you wouldn't do it?
I think if you have a good bench, say you have a guy who maybe has picked up maybe an injury, or maybe he's not playing, maybe he's playing for his home country in international or something like that, so he's not available. But if you have a good bench, and this is the important thing that I have said before, a good bench, you could just transfer him onto the bench and bring another guy in to replace him. And therefore, you're not going to be using your game week transfer. You'll be able to carry that over.
Okay. How long can you carry these transfers over?
Usually, you just carry them for 2 weeks. So if you don't use it the first week, then you need to use it the second week. So you'll have 2 transfers there. Some people will do that, especially if you have financial issues, that the finances aren't there to transfer players.
Okay, hold on now. Where does the finances come into this? I thought you were talking about transfers.
They're linked, both of them, to a certain degree. And then if you're transferring out a guy and you have your eye on another player, and you think, I'm going to have him. Can you afford him?
All right, okay. Oh, I get you, yes. So you couldn't transfer out a player who was 5 million, and you couldn't bring in a guy who's 6 million unless you had the extra million. That's it, exactly. Hector, what do you make of this transfer business? Well, I think sometimes you have to do transfer if your team are not performing. And sometimes you have to go and look at, as Eamon say, look at the big picture. If you pick your team, like when you have your team to start off, for the first game week, you're hoping that this team are going to perform for you. Now, if you bring in players and maybe they are not playing as good as what you had hoped or expected, you say you give them maybe 2-3 game weeks and they're not performing, or maybe they're not even playing, then you have to go and get rid of them and change your team around. And that's it. You have to go and get rid of them. Maybe you have to get rid of one guy 1 week, another guy another week. And then, well, I know Eamon, he say, sometimes, if you have money, but sometimes you have to work around that. Say you have no money in bank. You have one guy worth 5 million. Maybe you get another player for 4.5 million. He playing better than the guy. And then you wouldn't get him in there. Okay. Would you advocate, lads, about losing points?
No, I wouldn't advocate it in the big picture. Yes, there are times that you will have to do, or you may have to drop points. Now, it's 4 points. If you don't have a transfer and you're taking a guy out, but you said you get a transfer every week. Well, no, what I'm saying is you have your game week transfer, you've used it, but you need a transfer out to somebody else. That second transfer is going to cost you the minus 4 points. And those 4 points, they add up. Some guys go a bit over the top. The Spoofer is one of those guys. I think he had something like nearly 50 transfers in the season. That's quite a lot. Generally, I think you're probably going to be in around the 23 to 26 transfers in a season. And I think you need to keep it at that. You need to keep those 4 points down to a minimum, because like all those 4 points, they start to add up little by little.
Okay, right. Now, you mentioned there if you didn't have enough money. Oh, sorry, Hector, you wanted to come in there. Yes, I did. I think that there are times, if you are going for top spot, sometimes you have to gamble. You have to say, I will go and I will transfer 2-3 players out and I will lose maybe 4, maybe 8 points. Sometimes maybe managers will say, I need to change players around more. They lose 12 points. Sometimes you take that gamble.
No, I don't believe in that. No, that's nonsensical talk, that, Hector. No, I don't think managers should be taking that sort of gamble.
But sometimes they have to.
No, they don't have to do that. What they do is they pace themselves and they say, I'll do a transfer this week. If I have to lose 4 points, I lose 4 points. I think it's a bit audacious to go down the road of losing 12 points in one game week. That's a real atomic bomb, pressing a button job sort of.
I don't think so. I think sometimes you do that and you bring good player in, you make points up.
He could have a point there, Eamon. No, he hasn't got a point. Look, Hector, in all fairness to you, what do you know about football? I can write down on the back of a box of matches.
Hey, I know something about football.
No, you're talking about a manager who's desperate. That's what you're in, that position where he's decided that he wants to lose 12 points. That's lunacy. It's madness. I've seen it though. I did see it last season. And in fairness, it didn't work out for some guys.
But I think it worked out for some managers though in other cases, did it not?
It doesn't work out most of the time. I'm not an advocate of it. I think you need to pick your best team first of all. Pick the best possible team you can. Starting off for game week 1, take it from there. And don't panic.
I didn't say anything about it.
No, you advocate that a guy will go in there and say, this guy's not playing. I don't like to look at that guy. I'm not sure about this guy. All out. It's as if you're taking a sweeping brush to the team and you want half them out and you're going to lose a lot of points. And it's hard to make up those points, Hector.
Hector? Well, I think if I had a chance to talk, I would have said, I agree, Eamon. I think that, sometimes, you have to see, but there are times there that you can
transfer guys out and you can take a hit, but the guy you bring in, they make it. But you don't know if the guy you're bringing in is going to do it. That's the gamble. And that gamble doesn't work. Well, sometimes it might work. Sometimes it might work, but I wouldn't want to be doing it too much. And if a listener here who's putting a team together, they don't want to be hearing that sort of thing from you. Why not? Why they don't hear that from me? I just speak that sometimes that will happen. We often see it there. Managers sometimes will lose 4 or 8 points. Here, you lose an extra 4 points at 12 points. Oh yeah, where does it stop though, Hector? Do you suddenly then say, well, look, I might lose 16 points. I might take a punt and I gamble. No. I don't agree with that. Okay. Right. Finances. What happens with it? Well, look, we all know you've got a budget of 100 million. The question is, should you keep some money in the bank or should you spend the full 100 million on your team when you're starting off? And Eamon, what's the consensus on this? I think that you should always keep some money in the bank, because if you're doing a transfer out, and let's say, for example, you have a player who's worth 6 million. Maybe he's picked up an injury. Maybe he's suspended. Then you have you identify a replacement for him. And maybe he is, 7 million, 7.5 million. If you've got that 1.5 million sitting in the bank, it allows you the opportunity to buy that player. However, if you decided to use all of your 100 million, you're then restricted by what you can do. If you transfer the guy out for 6 million, that's all you're going to have to spend, unless you want to sacrifice some other players. Maybe you've got an expensive player and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get rid of him in order to get cash in. At that point, then you're in the business of possibly, if you only have the one free transfer, you're going to lose 4 points and you're an expensive player. So I think you should have money in the bank. I think if we recall, when I was naming my team, I think I had 1 million left in the bank. Hector? Yes, well, I think that I understand what Eamon is saying. I think sometimes, though, over the course of over the season, things will work their way out, or they will. If you now, I do agree. I think you should keep something in the bank. I don't think you should be completely spend 100 million. No, you have nothing. Then again, sometimes if you spend the 100 million, maybe you bought some big players, and perhaps maybe they might go up in value. They can also go down sometimes, the cost value. But if you have 1 or 2 expensive players, and suddenly you think, well, maybe 10 game weeks in, they're not doing as good as maybe they were expected to do, but you see some other players who are cheaper, then, you could transfer them out and make a bit, and then you have money in the bank, possibly. So let me get this right. So you're saying you could spend 100 million, you have a couple of big heavy hitters, maybe 10, 12 million, and after forking out that money, they might not be doing what you really want them to be doing, as in getting points. Yes, that's right. And then you decide, I'm going to sell these guys. Maybe I've spotted somebody who's, maybe 8 million and he's doing the business, and you're going to swoop in and buy him. And then you'd have 4 million left over. That's it. That would be my approach. I don't know if I agree with that. I do see, Hector, where you're coming from, but I'm not sure if it's what I'd do. Well, Eamon, that is what managers do. Managers manage. You manage your team, I manage my team, they manage their team. Everybody manages team differently. I know that. Yeah, you don't have to tell me that. Okay. Now, lads, have we any players that we'd want to watch out for? Say you're putting a team together. Your listeners at home, they're thinking, is there any player maybe who's outside the box? Maybe new to the league this season, or maybe somebody who's worth an investment in. Eamon, I'll go to you first on this one. Okay, yeah, right. There is a guy, Brian Mbemo from Brentford. He's worth 5.5 million. He's a midfielder. And I particularly like this guy because he does like to attack, and he also can take on the role of a striker. I really feel this guy is potentially a goal threat. And for that sort of money, I think he'd be a guy I'd be looking to have on a bench.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nicolas Pepe from Arsenal, actually. He's 7.5 million. He's a winger. He scores goals, but he also provides assists. And as I said, those assists, those points all add up.
Okay. And anybody else?
Danny Ings from Southampton. Now, he's worth 8 million. He is a forward. Now, unfortunately, he was limited last season due to injury. But when he was playing, he was a real threat with scoring goals. And he also was getting a couple of assists. Now, if this guy can remain injury-free, I think he would be a real bargain. And I also think he would be well up there with some of the other strikers, the heavy hitters.
Hector, have you anybody? Have you 3 players perhaps maybe that you'd say they're worth a look at? Yeah, I have one guy, Callum Wilson from Newcastle. He worth 7.5 million. He's a forward, so he's a striker. Now he missed some matches last season, but however, what I think was really good when he was playing, he was impressive. He was very good, and I think for 7.5 million, he's worth the investment. He's worth a look. The next guy then I would have is Timothy Castigan. He's a player for Leicester. He's worth 5.5 million, and he's a defender. He also be like a wing back. What I like about this guy is he gets involved in scoring goals. And last season was his debut season. Now, of course, he picked up a little injury. He was limited with playtime, but I think he's going to make a real good impact in this season. Okay. And anybody then finish that off?
Ismaila Sarr for Watford. He's 6 million. And he's a midfielder, he's a winger, midfielder. I think what interests me here about this guy is the fixtures that Watford have. Their first 7 game weeks, they're not too bad at all. I think they played 2 out of the top 10. He is a scorer. And they changed the formation he brought in a new manager, Watford. And they changed the formation halfway through their campaign last year. And when they done that, this guy exploded. He played really well. And I think if they stick with that formation, this guy, he's going to be a real threat.
Okay.
So you've 2 guys there that were injured. If they pick up an injury, then they're not really going to do anything.
Well, that's right. But any player can pick up injury.
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah, there's no argument with that.
All right, okay. All right. Right, gentlemen. I think that's about it for the moment. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope that you have, a good couple of days here. And we're on the countdown. Won't be long until game week 1 is starting.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay. Hector, thank you as well for coming in. Thank you. It's nice to be here. Nice to get an opportunity to talk. I give big shout out to everybody, around Dublin and people in Galway as well. I give big shout out. Oh, I also give a shout out to people in Jacksonville, in America and in Florida, and also to California. Big thumbs up to the Californians and stuff like that. And to our listeners in France, I love you. And to Germany, I love you.
Come on, give it a rest, will you? This is going on and on. You can be reading news bulletins next for these countries.
Yeah, I just say hello. That's it. Ciao. All right, okay. We'll leave it with that there. I think Hector has the final word, Eamon. Now, listeners, thank you once again for joining us. You'll be sure to subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family. Listen to us anytime, any place, anywhere. And we'll be back soon. Mind yourselves and take care.